Aye. What's good, YouTube? We see Matty here with Emmanuel R&D. Back here again with another video. Today, we finna be checking out this video, Donald Trump actually.
President-elect.
Basically, this is like a full hour-long video. I'm not finna watch the full thing. Basically, this interview is about kind of Trump's plans day one, once he steps into the White House. I told y'all, I promise y'all, I didn't get to, talk about the election and stuff like that, but I promise y'all I'm gonna start dropping more political videos on the channel. And I figure that's what a lot of people like. And I like stuff too that's controversial. I'm not that politically, knowledgeable. So if it's something that I don't know, just drop it in the comments for me. But we're gonna be taking this journey too, on this political journey, because this is a lot of just interesting things, to me, that's going on in the world. I feel like AI is taking over. The people who Trump brought in office with him, like how he's got Elon Musk with him and different celebrities, and it's just kind of it's interesting. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to see his plans. I didn't vote this year, but I definitely was leaning towards Donald Trump, so I'm kind of glad he won. But I'll probably talk about that more another day. But we gonna see, man, what his plans is day one in the office.
Donald Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have control of the House and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll be our first signal, and a first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here, but we have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions from all over the world being emptied into our country. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts, because they're coming due and they're very substantial for people, and it would be very.
So first off, Rick, I want to let y'all know I'm probably gonna watch maybe like 15-20 minutes of this video. So if y'all know like a timestamp of this video where he's like something that's very, very intriguing, let me know. But off rip, that's obviously Trump is same plan he had in 2020. He wants to control that border. All the illegal immigrants coming out. The tax cut is something interesting because a lot of the Kamala supporters were saying that, Kamala was going to give people a tax cut, but it seems like Trump has that same plan going for him as well. Hey, man, we'll see what else his plans is.
I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get an extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever. And those two things are going to be very vital, very important. We're going to be focusing on crime in the cities, and we'll work with Democrat governors. Most of them are, as you know, if you look at the 25 worst places, they're just about all Democrat-controlled cities and states. And we're going to be working with Democrat governors and Democrat mayors, and I look forward to doing it. But we have to do something about crime, and mostly in our cities. And we're going to have a lot of other things. We'll be working on nominations. We're going to still be working on some nominations. I think they're going very well. We have, for the most part, I think they're going extremely well. It looks like Peter's doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
We are going to delve into your nominations, but since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him.
Who's Pete Hegseth? Whatever that is. Like I said, y'all got to educate me down below, man. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry if I pause it a lot. I just kind of want to give my thoughts too, like, so y'all won't think I'm just doing it for views or just doing it for whatever. I'm actually very history knowledgeable, especially when it comes to the civil rights movement and stuff. History was always one of my favorite subjects in school, but just politically never really dove into all the politics and stuff like that. But like I said, the more and more of the stuff happening in the world, you kind of almost gotta be political these days, or not necessarily gotta be political, but at least know what's going on, at least know who's in office, and at least know what's happening and things of that nature. So that's why I'm just kind of intrigued by it. And Trump's a figure, man. Like Trump's, he's no one's perfect. That's all I'm gonna say. But I mean, I feel like there's some great things that Trump does, and there's also not so great things he does, and and a lot of the negative stuff that come from, we already know all. It's a lot.
Through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think we'd be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense. But every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do, in some cases. So, yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job, does that worry you?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, it's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing.
I don't know this dude, but I mean, having a drinking problem and being, in the White House. Like I said, I don't know the dude. I don't know his backstory, but that ain't a good look. You can't just stop drinking just because you get the position. Like that's something you should already be focusing on now. But to each his own, I guess.
Thing to say. But he's very respected. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him, really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really terrific. And again, all he talked about with me, I said, you're not really a television guy, even though he did very well, as you know. You're really a military guy. He said, I'm all about the military. And I told him, so he's making a lot of money at Fox. They're doing very well. And I said, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not going to be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said, this is all about America. He didn't say, well, let me think about it. Let me discuss it. That's a very big, risky thing he's doing. When he goes and he says, I'm going to give up, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into
sure.
your cabinet picks a little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think we will. I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion.
He said, so So far, he's talked about inflation, the border, tax cuts. One thing he hasn't mentioned that I don't even know, because this, like, honestly, for me, the biggest problem in this country, I can't just pinpoint one thing. It's a lot of things. Like everything that he mentioned is a big problem, but I wonder if he's gonna mention the school shootings, gun control. Like, when is this gonna get? When is that gonna get fixed? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, obviously we can't take away, the guns. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? But I don't know if they need to tweak the gun laws a bit. But then I don't know if they can do that because that also messes with the Constitution. So I don't know what it is, but all these school shootings is going on, and people walking in the grocery store shooting it up, and shooting up churches and stuff. It's got to be some type of, but particularly just school shootings. And whenever I see school shootings, because one actually happened out here I live in Las Vegas at UNLV. A school shooting happened out here. You know what I'm saying? It was this guy, I don't know if you know his name. Basically, it was a professor who applied at UNLV, got denied, and then I guess weeks later shot up the school. You know what I mean? I think he killed maybe like two or three people or something like that. So it wasn't like massive like some of the other ones, but that's a big issue that I don't know if Trump is gonna address. But we gotta protect the children in the schools, man, for sure. And honestly, treat schools how you treat airports. Honestly, like, let them, before anybody can like pass through there, man. Like, if you gotta have metal detectors, if you gotta hire more security, like this is something that no other country struggles with. No other country is having those issues as far as school shootings. Am I wrong on that? You know what I'm saying? I think that's a very big issue that, I'm not saying that's the biggest issue in America, but that's something that he needs to hopefully address. You know what I'm saying? So, because I'm just tired of seeing it every other week. You seeing, a school shooting, you seeing a grocery store get shot up, or it's the gun control. But like, I always revert back to it. You can't take away guns. You can't do that because it's not, guns don't kill people. It's the people that kill people. You know what I'm saying? People that just like, I don't know if this is true too, but I was talking to one of my friends as well, and he said that at 18 years old, you can buy an AR-15, but you can't buy a handgun. Like, how does that even work? How does that even make sense? Like, it's certain things about the gun laws and certain things that just I don't get. Like, you know what I mean? There's no way 18-year-olds should need, you know what I'm saying, an AR-15. What you need that for, bro? Like, at 18 years old, like, it's insane, honestly, man. But like I say, anything that I may have missed or I'm not knowledgeable about the gun laws or that he plans on doing, y'all let me know down below in the comments.
And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really.
I know what tariffs is, but I had to refresh on Google. A tariff is a tax on the import or export of goods and services between countries. Tariffs are a type of foreign trade regulation that can be used to. Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I got to get a refresher, man. Like,
We got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are a properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. No. You mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio. I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio. And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines. And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people, it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you
That's one thing you got to give Trump, man. He's a businessman, so he's very business minded. I think he knows how to run. He knows how to help businesses. He knows how to run businesses, right? But I think with a lot of people, the issue that they have with Trump is he's a businessman, right? But his mindset is to run the country like a business. And to a certain extent, for certain things, when it comes to, saving money and taxes and stuff like that, that could be an advantage. But also, there's a lot of bigger fish for him to be frying and worrying about as well, that he could get too much caught up on the business side of it and forget about all the other stuff. But that's kind of my take on Trump. I mean, like I said, he knows how to, I could be wrong. I know, hey, he went bankrupt before, and I think, didn't his dad or somebody give him $1 million or something, or I don't know. Like, it's a lot of like back stories that I've heard that I got to do more research, even just about Trump. But he got money, you know what I'm saying? So but what I'm trying to say is, like, when it comes to certain avenues in that regard with businesses and stuff, I feel like he is knowledgeable about that.
make sure that consumers don't wind up paying more? Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs on to their customers?
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust it somewhat. But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries do to us, it became a very, very powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt. Tariffs are going to make our country safe, because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them. They don't want to play games. And we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question. Yeah. Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders, because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. And in both cases, but in the case where it was really visible, within 10 minutes after that phone call, we noticed that the people coming across the border, the southern border, having to do with Mexico, they were at a trickle, just a trickle. It was, in fact, I call the border. See, unlike my opponent, I do call the border a lot. And I said, how's the border looking today? They said, there's nobody here. They couldn't believe it. The military stopped these vast groups of people. You know, we call them caravans, but they had caravans of people, and they largely stopped them. Now, they're going to have to continue that, but if they don't continue, and the other thing I told them is no more drugs, and I told that to China, too. I had to deal with President Xi. Had the election been different, I'm going to be very nice because we don't have to get into an argument over 2020, but had the election been different, the result been different, we would have had China giving the maximum penalty, which is the penalty of death, to people that sent fentanyl into this country. But Biden didn't, unfortunately, finish that discussion up. I had an agreement with President Xi, who I got along with very well. We've had communication as recently as this week. And I had communication with him where they were going to give the death penalty to anybody sending drugs into the United States.
This week you had that conversation.
Wow. The death penalty? That's crazy. OD. What y'all think about that, man?
Not that conversation, but I had other conversations. Okay. But in the past, I've had that conversation.
Let me ask you about another aspect of the economy, sir, the minimum wage. The federal minimum wage has been $7.20.
Okay. I'm going to let her... No matter of fact, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Because this is the what I'm worried about, too. So, I work at Albertsons right now. Currently still work at Albertsons. Started when I'm 21 years old. Started when I was 16 years old. Getting paid $7.25. Like, that's OD. Like, OD, like, in a bad way. Like, they got to raise that minimum wage, bro. Like, I don't know what's stopping it. Is it, like, I don't know exactly, like, because I feel like we're able to raise it. I'm not saying raise the minimum wage to $30, but I mean, like, the minimum wage should be in every state at least $15 at least. What y'all think? That's pretty fair, right? But I know that if we did do that, we might take a hit. But I don't know. I feel like we got the funds as a nation to do it, but I don't know. I'm not really knowledgeable about that. But $7.25, that is true. That's what I was making. My checks was like $80, $100. So like that's OD. Like nobody should be making that kind of money. Like how can you survive off that? How can you live off that? Like that shouldn't even be legal, bro. $7.25. Come on now.
25 since 2009.
Since 2009 too? That's crazy. Well, $7.25 in 2009 compared to $7.25 in 2024, it's a whole different ball game. But even back then, that's like, bro, like, come on. Like, yeah, obviously, you know, back then in 2009, it was better, of course. You know, I mean, everything was better in 2009, but it's the fact that it hasn't changed all these years later is kind of crazy.
There are 20 states that still have the federal minimum wage at $7.25, and I actually have a map. 19 of these states actually voted for you, sir. Mm-hmm. And you can see.
Wait, so is Nevada 15 now?
The map. 19 of these.
I don't see. Nevada ain't in the red, so is that Nevada? Hold up. Let me check that real quick. What is Nevada's minimum wage? What is Nevada's minimum wage?
It's $11.25 per hour.
Okay. Better, but I mean, like I said, this raised that mug to 15. Like, well, come on, man. If we like this, man, but like that's better than 7. That's like, so they raised it what? $4, 8, 9, 10, 11. They raised it $4 from $7.25 to $11.25. That's better, but that's still not enough, man. Come on. You still got all these families struggling, you know, using food stamp, come on, they need more. But I mean, let me see what Trump has to say about it.
These states actually voted for you, sir. Mm-hmm. And you can see it right here. I don't know if you remember this, but during the debate in 2020, I asked you if you would raise the minimum wage. You said you would consider it. And so my question for you is, now that you are going back to the White House, for these 19 states that voted for you, are you going to raise the federal
It's a very low
wage?
number. I will agree. It's a very low number. Let me give you the downside, though. Yeah. In California, they raised it up to a very high number. And your restaurants are going out of business all over the place. The population is shrinking. It's had a very negative impact. But there is a level at which you could do it, absolutely. Yeah.
What is that level, do you
I don't
think?
know. I mean, I really don't know. I can say this. You have a lot of businesses that are open and thriving because of the lower minimum wage. If you raise it too much, and you understand this, if
And like I said, and that's why I kind of agree with, like, obviously, I'm not saying, like I said, we're not saying raise it to $20, 30, $25 in an hour, but I mean, I feel like if it can be in that, like I said, I feel like the sweet spot is 15. Like, I feel like the minimum wage is 15 in all 50 states. But obviously it's different. Like, I feel like a place like McDonald's is not gonna go out of business if and I think actually the McDonald's minimum wage, I think, actually is 15. I think they do start you off at 15 at McDonald's. But I'm using McDonald's as an example because they make so much revenue compared to, like, if a small business raised their minimum wage, they might take, like I said, might take a hit, might start losing some customers and run out of business because they can't keep up. You know what I'm saying? They're not as profitable. Yeah, they're paying their employees more, but they're not. Their margins are they're probably not there. So I could see why, but I mean, I just feel like, and if anything, if you can't raise it to 15, at least raise it to 11.25 for all them states that she should name, especially if they voted for you, man. Come on. If it's not gonna take too much of a hit on the country, just make it happen.
California went crazy. They went crazy. And the restaurants are closing all over. Many more people are hurt.
So I hear you saying, similarly to sort of what you said in 2020, will you consider? Is this something you're going to look at?
I'd want to speak to the governors. And the other thing that's very complicated about minimum wages is places are so different. Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California. I mean, in terms of the cost of living and other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive to live, where a minimum.
So that answers my question. I just said make the minimum wage the same in every country, but he just said it wouldn't work because that is true though. Like, living in California compared to living in maybe Alaska or something. Alaska, like they pay you to even live there. It's like it's different. Like, it's levels to this, and Cali is so expensive, bro. Like, it's a nice place to live. With Miami, expensive as heck. I live in Vegas, but even Vegas is like not as expensive as Cali, but it's getting there. It probably will be there, especially everything's coming out here. The movies and all these different stadiums. Prices are just going up and up. Man. I think I'm gonna wrap it up right here, y'all. Yeah, y'all let me know at this same video if there's any other timestamps you want me to check out. But yeah, start sending me anything political, like controversy, Trump related, anything, what I'm saying, that's really about to start happening in the country, because I'm very intrigued, man. It's a lot about to change, and I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do in the next 4 years. And he said he's going to better the economy, and hopefully he does that, just that, man. And that wraps it up, y'all. Make sure y'all like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'm going to see y'all next video.